Waitress saves billionaire's son from an accident. Next day, he shows up with a proposal. What if a single moment of courage could change two lives forever? On a rainy Tuesday evening in downtown Portland, 36-year-old waitress Lily Chen was walking home from her double shift at Murphy's Diner when she heard the screech of tires and a child's terrified scream. Without thinking, she dropped her purse and sprinted toward the busy intersection where a small boy had chased his soccer ball into traffic. A delivery truck barreled down the street, its driver frantically honking as he tried to stop on the wet asphalt. Time slowed as Lily lunged forward, wrapping her arms around the 6-year-old just as the truck's bumper grazed her shoulder. They tumbled safely onto the sidewalk, both breathing hard. The boy looked up at her with wide brown eyes, his lower lip trembling. "Thank you," he whispered. Lily smiled despite the pain shooting through her arm, but she had no idea that this brave act would bring an unexpected visitor to her door the very next morning. "Where are you watching from tonight?" The next morning, Lily winced as she tied her apron strings around her bruised shoulder. Murphy's Diner buzzed with its usual breakfast crowd, construction workers grabbing coffee before their shifts, elderly couples sharing newspapers, and busy parents feeding pancakes to restless children. She'd worked here for 8 years, ever since her divorce, and these familiar faces had become her second family. "You sure you're okay to work today, honey?" asked Betty, the head cook, noticing Lily favoring her left arm. "That was some heroic thing you did yesterday." Lily shrugged, then immediately regretted the movement. "I'm fine, Betty. Besides, someone's got to pay the bills." She thought about her small apartment rent due next week, her mother's medical bills, and her own student loans from the nursing degree she'd never finished. Heroic or not, life didn't stop for sore shoulders. Around 10:30, the diner's bell chimed, and Lily looked up from refilling coffee cups to see a man in an expensive charcoal suit scanning the room. He appeared to be in his early 40s, with kind eyes and graying temples, looking distinctly out of place among the vinyl booths and formica tables. Several customers turned to stare as he approached her station. "Excuse me, are you Lily?" His voice was warm but nervous. "Lily Chen?" She set down the coffee pot, suddenly aware of her faded uniform and the small stain on her apron. "Yes, that's me. How can I help you?" "My name is Jonathan Pierce. I believe you saved my son yesterday." The words hit her like a wave. The little boy with the brown eyes, this was his father. But something in his expression suggested this wasn't just a simple thank you visit. He clutched a manila envelope in his hands, and his designer shoes shifted uncomfortably on the diner's worn linoleum. "Could we talk privately for a few minutes?" he asked, glancing around at the curious faces now openly watching their conversation. "What you did for Jake, it's changed everything for us. I have something important to ask you." Lily felt her heart racing. The sincerity in his voice, mixed with what sounded almost like desperation, told her this conversation would be nothing like she expected. Lily led Jonathan to the corner booth where she usually took her breaks, her mind spinning with questions. He placed the envelope carefully on the table between them, his hands trembling slightly. Up close, she could see the worry lines around his eyes. The way his expensive watch couldn't hide the exhaustion in his movements. "Jake's mother died 2 years ago," he began quietly, his voice catching. "Cancer. It's been just the two of us since then, and I've been failing him terribly." Lily's chest tightened. She'd lost her own father young and remembered that hollow feeling. "I'm so sorry for your loss." Jonathan nodded, swallowing hard. "I work too much. I travel constantly for business. Jake spends most of his time with nannies who don't really know him. Yesterday, when he ran into that street," his voice broke. "I wasn't even there. I was in a conference call 3 states away while my 6-year-old son nearly died." The weight of his guilt filled the small space between them. Lily wanted to reach across and comfort this broken father, but something held her back. Men in $1,000 suits didn't usually confess their failures to waitresses they'd just met. "Yesterday changed something in me," Jonathan continued, looking directly into her eyes. "When the doctors checked Jake over, when the police told me what you'd done, I realized I can't keep failing him. He needs stability. He needs someone who'll actually be there." He pushed the envelope toward her. "I have a proposition for you, Lily. I know it's going to sound crazy, but I'm desperate. Jake hasn't smiled, really smiled, since his mother died, but yesterday, when he talked about the nice lady who saved him, I saw something in his eyes I thought was gone forever. Lily stared at the envelope, afraid to touch it. What kind of proposition? Marriage, he said simply. I'm offering you a marriage contract. 1 year. You'd live in our home, help me raise Jake, be the stable presence he needs. In return, I'd pay off your debts, cover your mother's medical bills, and give you enough money to go back to school if you want. The diner seemed to fade around them. This successful businessman was proposing a business arrangement disguised as marriage to a woman he'd known for 5 minutes. If this moment touched your heart, please give the video a thumbs up. But looking into Jonathan's desperate eyes, Lily realized he wasn't offering her a fairy tale. He was offering her a chance to save a little boy who'd already lost too much. Lily's hands shook as she stared at the envelope, unable to process what she'd just heard. A marriage proposal from a stranger. A business arrangement disguised as something sacred. The logical part of her mind screamed that this was insane, but her heart kept thinking about those brown eyes, both the father's and the son's, filled with the same desperate loneliness she recognized in her own mirror. "You don't even know me," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the clatter of dishes and morning conversations around them. "I know you risked your life for a child you'd never met," Jonathan replied. "I know you work 2 jobs to support your family. I know you put yourself in harm's way without hesitation when someone needed help. That tells me everything I need to know about your character." Lily thought about her cramped apartment, the stack of unpaid bills on her kitchen counter, her mother's worried phone calls about the latest medical expenses. Then she thought about her ex-husband's promises, how love alone hadn't been enough to hold their marriage together when money troubles consumed everything. "What about love?" she asked, surprising herself with the question. Jonathan's expression softened. "I loved Jake's mother completely. That kind of love, I don't know if it comes twice in a lifetime, but Jake needs someone who'll care about him, who'll be present in his life. And maybe we could find something real along the way. At the very least, we could build a friendship based on mutual respect." The honesty in his voice broke something loose in her chest. Here was a man who wasn't promising her fairy tales or perfect endings. He was offering her a chance to matter in someone's life while admitting his own limitations. "I need to think about this," she said, still not touching the envelope. "Of course. Take all the time you need." He stood to leave, then paused. "Jake's been asking about you. He wants to draw you a picture to say thank you. Would it be okay if we came by tomorrow?" Not for an answer, just so he can meet his hero properly. After he left, Lily sat alone with the envelope and her racing thoughts. Betty appeared with a fresh cup of coffee and knowing eyes. "Honey, whatever that was about, you looked like you've seen a ghost. Have you ever faced a life-changing decision that scared and excited you at the same time? Let us know in the comments." Lily realized that sometimes the scariest choices were the ones that might actually save you. The next evening, Lily's small apartment felt impossibly tiny as she waited for Jonathan and Jake. She'd cleaned everything twice, baked cookies from a mix, and changed clothes 4 times before settling on a simple blue dress that made her feel confident but not overdressed. When the doorbell rang, her heart hammered against her ribs. Jake bounded through her doorway clutching a crayon drawing, his energy filling the space immediately. "You're the hero lady," he announced, thrusting the paper toward her. "I drew you with a cape because you saved me like Superman." The drawing showed 2 stick figures, one small, one tall with flowing hair and an actual red cape. Above them, Jake had written, "Lily is the best," in crooked letters. Tears pricked her eyes as she knelt to his level. "This is the most beautiful picture anyone's ever given me," she said honestly. "Can I hang it on my refrigerator?" "Really?" Jake's face lit up. "Daddy, she likes it. Can we have cookies now?" As Jake explored her small living room with 6-year-old curiosity, Jonathan lingered by the door, studying her face. "You've decided, haven't you?" Lily nodded, surprised by her own certainty. "Yes, but I have conditions." They sat at her tiny kitchen table while Jake colored another picture on the floor. Jonathan listened intently as she outlined her terms. Separate bedrooms initially, shared household responsibilities, honest communication about Jake's needs, and the freedom to pursue her nursing degree. And if after a year we both agree it's working, she added quietly, maybe we could try for something more real. Jonathan's relief was visible. I was hoping you'd say that. There's one more thing, Lily continued, watching Jake hum happily as he drew. I don't want him to think this is just business. Children need to believe in love, even if adults get confused about it. As far as Jake knows, we're getting married because we care about each other. Can you handle that kind of acting? It wouldn't be acting, Jonathan said softly. Lily, I've watched you with him for 10 minutes, and he's happier than I've seen him in 2 years. Caring about you won't be difficult. The weight of the decision settled over her like a warm blanket rather than a burden. If you've been enjoying this story, subscribe to our channel for more heartwarming tales. She looked at this man and his beautiful boy, realizing she wasn't just agreeing to help them, she was choosing to build something entirely new. 3 months later, Lily stood in the doorway of Jake's bedroom, watching Jonathan read bedtime stories in voices that made their son giggle uncontrollably. Their son. When had she started thinking of Jake that way? When had this house stopped feeling like a temporary arrangement and started feeling like home? The transition hadn't been without challenges. Jake had tested boundaries, missing his mother and confused about Lily's role in his life. There were tears over homework, arguments about bedtime, and moments when Lily questioned whether she was equipped for instant motherhood. But there were also soccer games where Jake insisted she sit next to Daddy, art projects that ended up on both their office desks, and quiet morning conversations over pancakes that felt more precious than any romantic dinner she'd ever shared. Jonathan had surprised her most of all. The businessman who'd seemed so formal in his expensive suit turned out to be someone who did silly voices during story time, who helped with dishes without being asked, and who listened when she talked about her dreams of becoming a nurse. He'd enrolled her in night classes and hired additional help so she could study. More importantly, he'd kept his promise about honest communication, checking in regularly about how she felt, what Jake needed, and whether their arrangement was working for everyone. Lily, come read with us, Jake called out, patting the space beside him on the bed. She settled between them, Jake's warm little body nestled against her side, Jonathan's arm naturally draping across her shoulders. As they finished the story, Jake looked up at her with those same brown eyes that had started this whole journey. Lily, he said sleepily, are you going to stay forever now? She glanced at Jonathan, seeing her own emotions reflected in his face. Over the past months, something had shifted between them. The careful politeness had given way to genuine partnership. The business arrangement had evolved into something that looked remarkably like a real family. They still maintained separate bedrooms, still moved carefully around the deeper questions of their relationship, but the foundation was solid now, built on friendship, respect, and shared love for this remarkable little boy. What do you think? She asked Jake gently. Would you like me to stay forever? Yes, he said firmly, because you make the best pancakes and you help Daddy smile more, and you're not going anywhere, right? Lily looked at Jonathan, seeing the question in his eyes that matched the one in her heart. They'd built something real here, something worth fighting for. This wasn't the fairy tale marriage she'd once dreamed of, but it was something better, a love story built on choice rather than chance, on commitment rather than just chemistry. I'm not going anywhere, she promised, meaning it completely. If you enjoyed this story, please remember to like, leave a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe for more heartwarming tales. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful journey of unexpected love and second chances.